All right, all right. Episode 16 of Hitting the Road. Got a special podcast today that I'm very excited about. We've got Christian artist Zauntee. Real quick, just to kind of give you a little bit of backstory here with Zauntee. Zauntee's got over 45 million Spotify streams, 25 million Apple Music streams, and 58 million and counting YouTube views. Which sounds just ridiculous. Those numbers are just absolutely astonishing and ridiculous. He's brought us singles like Hard Work, God First, God Taught Me, Jesus Called My Name, and now recently Jesus Down in Florida. Zauntee, how's it going, man?
Dude, I'm honored to be here, brother. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for having me.
yeah, you
It's a
bet,
good
man.
day.
Yeah, it's a good day. That's a good day. Where you at right now? You in town? You in
Yeah,
Nashville?
I'm in Nashville. So I've lived out here since 2018, moved up here from Tampa, Florida, which is where I'm
Yep.
from.
Yep. I was going to ask you. So Tampa. So I knew you were from Tampa. I wanted to ask you about Tampa. Obviously, man, a thriving at this. I would say thriving sports town.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
do you have hometown pride when it comes to your sports
Oh
teams?
yeah, baby. I'm
Yeah,
telling you right now, I want this on record. The Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
dude. Yeah,
Baker Mayfield has the right receiving core. We're going all the way, dude. I'm telling you.
yeah, man. Y'all's receivers are nasty.
Oh my gosh, dude. And we
And
got everybody healthy too. And Mike Evans is just ridiculous. Like,
he is.
I think he's the best receiver in the league.
He's good for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns every year, man.
I'm
He's
saying that just we get like that's too normal to us, right? Like y'all, look at the stats. You see what's happening?
yeah, exactly. Well, and dude, what a story. And we can get into it later, but what a story with Baker, man. I mean, like bounced around a little bit. And I think Baker, I think he's, I mean, one of the best quarterbacks. It goes without saying
Oh
in
yeah,
football, but but he bounced around and kicked around, and I know you and I we're going to get into faith a little bit, but I mean, Baker's got a faith story and a faith journey of his own now, and
yeah.
so
I
yeah,
was
dude,
excited to see that, man. That fired me up.
yeah, for sure. It's crazy too. Just kind of talking about the Bucks. I think I saw something the other day that they were like the betting, not maybe not the betting favorite, but it was like they're pretty high up there to win the Super Bowl, like you said.
Yeah,
They've got a good squad.
yeah. And I think too, like the culture in Tampa, like when Brady went there, he talks about how the organization is just so good for the players. And yeah, I feel like I got the chance to be around the organization a little bit last year, near the end of the season.
Yeah,
And just like that was my first game being at and kind of seeing it happen and how the culture is on game day and getting to see even how the fans are and stuff. It's electric, bro. And I love too, like I'm big on like the underdog, like the guy with the chip on his shoulder, like Baker Mayfield, he's like a Cody Rhodes character in the NFL. Like he's been showing up, showing up, showing up, and like now he's here. And
yeah,
I don't know, I love seeing that guy win because like I relate to that too, like the work ethic to keep showing up and maybe not always have it handed to you the way that you think that
sure.
it would be. And then you get to be the one to go out and prove like if you keep showing up, you can make it. So
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
excited to see this season, dude. Last year we did good too, man. That game was stressful when we got eliminated in the playoffs. I don't want to talk about it.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Well, yeah, I mean, you know what's funny, man, is like and we can talk about it later, but it's like, there's this video, you've probably seen it where I want to say he was at Oklahoma, but Baker, he's kind of running, he might have been under the influence and gets tackled by the police,
Yeah.
And dude, and you know what's funny is like I love that, and as we talk about faith, your story's not written at 20 years old, 21 years old, man. It's probably just starting, man, and like
Yeah.
there's chance for redemption for all of us, man. And just like what so watching him lead the Tampa anyway, I know I'm not even a Tampa fan. I'm just saying watching him lead and watching him as a man, it seems like he's leaning more into Jesus. It's pretty fun to
Yeah.
watch. But man, so tell me about that because like I know that before we popped on, I told you, I just would love to hear about your upbringing, in Tampa.
Yeah.
Did you have a pretty traditional like family upbringing? Like what did that look like?
Yeah. So my mom and dad are my heroes. We talked a little bit about my dad before the show. Like he's a rock star. He's my hero. Um, my parents were pastors. I grew up seeing them serve God. I grew up seeing them sacrifice everything to help other people. And I think watching, I'm very blessed to have had a great childhood where regardless of what we walked through, I felt, supported by them. And I don't take that for granted. When we got to the point of, kind of middle school through high school and like that whole window, you get older and you start realizing like the sacrifice and the struggle that we're pushing through as a family, um, to, to walk in this calling. And I just remember kind of seeing like, I loved God. but I remember seeing them giving everything for him and seeing how people treated them. Seeing how leaders in ministry that they were under were handling things. Um, and I don't know, it's a big part of my story, just kind of starting to build a resentment of like, man, if this is what Christianity is, if this is what faith is, my parents are giving everything to God, and how come they have to walk through some of this pain that we're walking through right now? How come there's some of this struggle? How come the leaders that they're serving under, are hypocrites, or are, how come my parents are having to go through all this? And I kind of had this window where I was like, I got fed up and I was like, look, I want two things. I want respect and opportunity. And I kind of got into this place where I was just doing what it took to get those two things, and um moving around some people I probably shouldn't have been around, and just kind of like God protected me, but it was just a hunger. I just had a deep insecurity, wanting to belong and wanting to make up for, I guess, some of the things that I saw happening to in the church. I was like, I can't respect that. I don't want that for me.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is I was like kind of senior year. Um, I had this moment where my mom found out kind of how I was living, and she was just like, look, like in 10 years, you won't be able to, you'll have Jesus to lean on when you're ready. You'll have your faith. Whenever it's convenient for you, you in your heart, you know that's the answer, and you'll be able to lean back on it. But the people you're around, they don't have that answer.
Yeah.
So you have the truth and you're watching them drown. It's like I'm on a life raft and everybody else is drowning. I'm putting my foot in the water, like, see, I'm just like you, and I'm hanging out and we're in the water. But if they knew there was a life raft, they would be desperate to get on it.
Sure.
And that woke me up, dude. It was a pivotal point where I just decided, like, every circle I was in, I was going to represent Jesus no matter how the cost would be for me personally. And it was the people I least expected who needed him most. I would get calls like, I'm sober for the first time in years and I don't know a pastor. Can we pray together? Or one of my friends got locked up, and we started a Bible study over the phone while he was in. And like these kinds of things started happening. And I internalized it and was like, well, music has always been my passion. So what if I just made songs like, because I didn't feel like I had anything to send these guys if they did receive Christ, or if they were open to turning their life around. I didn't really have a lot of music where I could be like, hey, listen to this, or then maybe they didn't go to a church or weren't open to that. So the music was more of like necessity, mother of invention. It was like more of there's a need. I don't hear what I need to hear right now, for my generation. Started to make it, and I guess it resonated with some people. Um, I had those moments where I would, walk in and see the struggle that we were walking through, at different times as a family, financially, and just having faith. And so I kind of gritted my teeth and said, okay, I'm gonna keep showing up until this works, um, because somebody needs this message, and I believe that God has called me to create something to leave legacy for me and my family. And so I have that hunger. Like I can't talk about it without getting a bit emotional of like
Sure.
the like I want to get on the field and run right now. Like
Sure. Yeah.
but I feel like that kind of covers, in Tampa, the upbringing side of things that really fueled the music that I do today, and just being like what younger me would have needed. I designed this artist like, oh, if he would have heard this song at this time, maybe that would have kept him
Yeah.
on the right path. And I thank God that the Lord protected me to get me to this moment. And there's so many other people who are gonna, be inspired to keep going forward because of what I do. And it's all Him. I'm just a vessel.
Sure. Yeah, man. And and that's the thing. I know we've talked we've already kind of woven in football a little bit. We're gonna do it a little bit more. So like I just watched the documentary for the Dallas Cowboys on Netflix,
Dude,
and it's
America's team is so fire, bro. We're on episode
yeah, man.
7 now.
It's
My
good,
whole
right?
fam been watching it.
Um,
It's tough.
it's so good. Yeah. And I mean, just from a storytelling standpoint, man, it's really, really great. And but it's like, Jerry's pretty, he came from oil. Uh
Yeah,
family, so he's got this inheritance, his kids they're gonna have an inheritance, generational for, whether it's oil money, Dallas Cowboy money, whatever, like they were kind of born into it. And
yeah,
it's funny the thing that we're born into. And it can be, just kind of, socially the family you're born into, spiritually the family you're born into, whatever it may be. And I know you were born into kind of a family, like you said, that follows Jesus. And but you had to develop a faith of your own, right? So it's like Man, I asked a pastor friend of mine one time. I said, "Man, what did God save you from?" And
Wow.
his response was, "Man, that's a great question. I'll have to think about it." And I remember thinking, like, how do you not know the answer to that, right? And so, like, it was just kind of bizarre to me. But as somebody that came from faith, had to develop their own faith, when you like, I'm just kind of curious, what do you feel like, because you mentioned like, hey, I may have been running here or running there. Like, what do you feel like God saved you from?
The answer that comes to my head right away is myself.
Yeah,
I feel like uh, because of my desire to make it, I had put a lot of pressure on me. You know, to be as perfect as I could be, to work as hard as I could. And I think it was a long journey to learn how to surrender and to move out of the way. Flow state is really just being present and kind of getting out of the way when you're doing what you're called to do. I think for me, it was a journey to like truly not do stuff for God, but do stuff with Him.
yeah,
Um, I've had a lot of sleepless nights and battled with depression and anxiety. I've battled with the feeling of wanting to quit, give up, being paralyzed by feeling overwhelmed.
yeah,
And I feel like God has allowed me to walk through that stuff so I can look somebody in the eyes and say, I understand how you feel. I've been there, but it gets better and hang on. And, I had this story of a guy who came to an Atlanta show. And in the VIP, he told me that he was drunk on drugs. He had a gun in his mouth and he dropped the safety.
wow,
And my song came on shuffle. And it's the reason why he didn't take his life. And he's been 2 years sober since that moment. I
yeah,
don't have the grid to process that. That's beyond me,
sure,
right? But when I think of a story like that, and I'm so grateful for that young man. His name's Johnny. But that kind of a moment doesn't happen if I'm doing this on my own strength. And I have to realize no matter what I do, I couldn't orchestrate that. There's no way I could have created that.
yeah,
And so I try to get into the place of like, all right, Lord, I know you've got a lot of Johnnies out there.
yeah,
If
yeah,
I overthink this and if I get in the way, or if my metric is like fame or success, because it can be hard when you have like hurt in the journey, it can be hard for your motivator to not be that thing,
sure,
right? Yourself, right? Like the insecurity or the memory or the I don't want to go back to this again, right?
yeah,
And so it's like I think Jesus has given me the peace where the joy of the Lord is my strength now.
yeah,
And I didn't hear a lot of people talking about that. I heard a lot of people say, well, when you find Christ, you give up on your dreams and it's a lot of like it sounded like suffering was the sales pitch, really. And
yeah,
it's like, yes, you do. You lay down your life, you die to yourself, pick up your cross, right? We hear this Christianese of like, yeah, you do sacrifice who you were. But that's freedom, man. That's like no, all of who I was holding me back. And
yeah,
I get to lay it down. And now I wake up with joy when it doesn't make sense. I have peace when everybody else would be panicking. When everyone around you is losing their head and you keep yours. Like
yeah,
that's the moment where people will often ask me, how is that happening? And that's when I can point to Jesus. Um, and myself wanted to tear me apart, dude.
yeah,
So Jesus allowed me to find freedom from all the things I've done wrong and all the things that keep me up at night and all the things that, you know, I'm walking in such a season of joy and peace. And 5 years ago, I would have called you crazy to just imagine like it being quiet. You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, and man, and that's the thing, we can lie to ourselves pretty much moment to moment, daily, certainly. And we have to be reminded of the truth and
Yeah.
who our identity is for sure. And it's like, man, so let me ask you, because it's like, I saw a podcast that you had done maybe even a couple months ago. And you mentioned that like, you saw yourself as a I mean, some people grow up, they want to be doctors or lawyers or whatever. You kind of had a vision that this is what you wanted to
Yeah.
do with your life. And what you call it, a vocation, call it a mission, whatever you want to call it. And so much so that I think I heard you mention that like, you were watching, Bono and how he moves on stage and all this kind
Yep.
of stuff, right? And so here's my question, man, because it's like, and this was maybe a tough one. I don't know, maybe not, maybe it's a softball, but it's like, so I mean, listen, somebody can go and Google your name, your birth name was not Zauntee, right?
Yeah.
And so you're Zachariah, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
okay, so you're Zachariah, you create Zauntee, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay. So I mean, just like Jay-Z wasn't born Jay-Z, Pitbull wasn't born Pitbull, right? And so
Yeah.
so you kind of create this artistic persona, right?
Mhm.
And so my question to you is this: is like, is it easy for you to separate
Mm.
Zachariah and Zauntee? Like, can you
Wow, that's good.
are they one and the same? And sub question: how hard is it to separate Zauntee from Jesus?
Ooh, that's a good question, dude. I love it. Um, wow. So it's this is I love this. This is interesting. When I started, right, and I'm getting out of high school and I'm putting music out of my bedroom and recording on borrowed cameras and just mixing and mastering myself and just that was just it was 100% me. It was Zachariah and Zauntee were the same. Zauntee was just a social media handle that was available that nobody had used before.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of the reason I still have the piece of paper I was writing out like different name ideas where and we can talk about later like how that name came about, but like I was looking for different stuff that like, okay, what's something nobody's used? So when you Google it and when you look up on social, this is just me on streaming. And I was like writing down like, okay, Apple and Spotify, this one's available, but not on Instagram. Okay, got to go back to the drawing board. So I was thinking like I just wanted like one name that would just be me, and then I would get to write the story. But in the beginning, it was fully me, bro. And then what happened is this has been a journey. I've been doing this 7 years because I started really young. So I started like first song was 16 years old. Like I made it, and I was still in that journey of like, am I, all in for Jesus and all that. And then I locked in, made that song, came out when I was 17 years old, and I've been doing it literally full time since then. Just keep getting back up, like I said. But in the beginning, it was all me and closeness to Jesus was that was the method. I was right there. And then I get to this first label, and what I realize, and this is also something where I'm going to start talking about more for younger artists, is like the music industry will try and chip away at your identity. It's this weird formula of like you know what works and you come to the table with what's working, but then they have an idea of what they think will work better. And so if you allow them and you kind of let the current drag you, they'll chip away at what's working for what they think will work. Um, which kills off what's actually already working. The suits will see you doing something that's working and then they'll try and change it. But then if their new thing doesn't work, you're the one who gets all the blame. They don't take that blame. And I think as a kid coming into the music industry, kind of naive, like I knew about how to get my music out there and I had a work ethic, but I think you get to a label and you think, okay, these guys are the pros. And I kind of took their word for it in a lot of areas. And I think, it started it was a fight to have the confidence and the courage to be who I am the way that I started when there was nothing to lose. Because now the rhetoric is like, okay, what you can't because if you mess this up, then you'll lose this. And there was people who were saying, I kid you not, there were people who were saying like, you got to stop saying that you're chosen. You got to stop. You're not a rock star. Like those words were hard to forget. And I think I became like kind of this shell of myself in a season where I didn't put out a lot of music during that time where I was just kind of like losing confidence because I used to watch the videos and say like I can be that person on stage. I can have a live performance that just draws you in because I'm doing all of this to get the corniness out of the way and make you have this experience so I can point you back to the solution, which is Jesus. So it got to this point where okay, I leave this label. I go back to work and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it with full confidence. And I start building this momentum again. And I have these windows, right? So the first time, the God taught me wave, it builds, it's doing great, but then it kind of comes to a stop because the first label, we leave that during COVID. They, dropped a lot of artists and we were able to walk away. That contract would have been many more years if it weren't for COVID. So we step away from that. Then in 2021, start working on the Stonebrook Project. And that album is like, this is just a worship song all in one. This is me moving out of the way. This is like, God, I surrender. I was really thinking that my music career might have been done. And so I was just like, well, all these songs are just a heart cry to God. And then Jesus Called My Name starts to pick up. And, that whole record starts to get attention and grow. And it's like, okay, cool. We're back in it now. And that momentum goes into top of next year, well, I wonder, I feel like the Lord just put on my heart to like just put out a bunch of music and he would show me which one was going to resonate with people. And off of that album, three songs went like insanely viral. Like one of them was top 20 in the world on Instagram when it comes to sound uses. And one of them, Blessed and Chosen, is still trending right now. Like it's been out for 2 years and it's like still in the top trending songs for sounds to use on TikTok and IG. And
Yeah.
so that's crazy. But so now I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling back to Zauntee Zachariah, and I'm
Yeah.
close to God. Then you get to this point where you sign a deal with Atlantic and have new management and all that. And now there's so much input. It goes back to this crossroads of like what's going to work. And
Yeah.
I think that the noise got to be so loud, and God knew this. There was just so much input even internally on our team, not even just label, but there's so much what's going to work, what's going to work, what's going to work. And during the process of all of this building behind the scenes, you go another year now, no music. And I'm getting to this point, right, top of this year, where we went from that momentum where it was me as Zachariah was Zauntee, right? And people are resonating with it because the most authentic version of me is always going to be the one people resonate with. And I think there was a lot of conversation about what the character needed to be. Like who is this artist and how do we scale it? And I don't know, it just you feel the pull. You feel it that start to separate. Like this is this thing that we're talking about building is moving further and further from authentically like who I am. And I got caught in the trap again
Yeah.
of just like when you get into the studio, your formula is what's going to work, not what do I want to make or what do people need.
Yeah.
And if you get caught in that what's going to work, you start making soulless art, bro.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's depressing.
Yeah.
And I think we got to a point where we had a conversation. It was like a real conversation with that label. It was like, are we going to get, is this the direction we're going to go or is this the direction we're going to go? And when we had these conversations, God just opened the door where I was able to move a different direction and keep all of my music, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And God allowed me to go back to the label that I was with Hard Work Out First and Jesus Call My Name and all that, and create a partnership situation where now, we're equal partners and we're building something together.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what's going into this next record. It's since I left Atlantic and I'm now in this space, every day has been, I'm trying to shrink this gap. That's
Yeah.
why I love your question
Yeah.
because I physically felt trying to make Zauntee closer to Zachariah every day, getting in the word, writing songs as much as I can, like like studying the content, and like, okay, what's not going to be me trying to make it? What's going to be authentically serving my audience?
Yeah.
And I feel like, bro, I feel like when we're talking right now, this week before my wedding, I'm right here. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm right here. And I feel like over the next couple of weeks, God is going to finish that work to get me to this point again.
Yep.
And that's a dangerous point for the music industry
Yeah.
because when I'm at this point, we take over.
Yeah.
And so that I've never been asked that question before, and I appreciate you letting me
Of course.
paint the broad picture because I think that's an incredible way to put it when it comes to being an artist. And I think people do that not even in music, but
Yeah.
I think they have a version of them that goes to their office.
Woo. See, there's some
They have a
definition.
version of them that
Yeah.
goes to their school. And
Absolutely.
my desire is to get people fired up to live on purpose and to be
Yeah.
the version of them that they're called to be. So I love that, dude. Thank you.
Man, yes, yes. Because like, dude, and there's so much depth there, right? Because it's like, man, I think that we're all guilty or have been guilty of playing up this character,
Yes.
and maybe they don't have a name like Zauntee, maybe they're not Pitbull or Jay-Z, but we very much are guilty or can be guilty of developing that and really. And I think, you mentioned insecurity earlier. I think that's probably a good way to put it. I think that a lot of, or at least I don't want to speak for other people. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but for me, mine was probably developed out of insecurity, or some semblance. And I know we throw the word trauma around, but probably some semblance of trauma that developed that kind of character that I wanted everybody to see. And dude, when you kind of, and I don't know about you, but when you kind of come to terms with just like who God really actually made
Mm,
you to be, and like and you don't have to project, you don't have to pretend anymore. Like it you can crash land pretty hard, but
yeah.
I think that when He builds you back up, it's a pretty beautiful thing. And so yeah, dude, I appreciate you sharing that. So man, let me ask you, because it's like, you mentioned, you were with Atlantic and all that and listen, I'm sure that like getting that kind of, because I know you were certainly pursued by other labels, and the pursuit, I mean, it's got to be fun because you feel wanted, you feel,
Yeah.
like they're coming, like they finally see my, my abilities and my unique, kind of, way that I can create art. Here's my question though, because it's like I'm of the mind that Jesus was very selective. He didn't just choose 12 slappies, right? To just kind of follow him around. I guess what I'm saying is like he was very aware of his inner circle. And so
Yeah.
when you've been navigating this, not just the labels and all this kind of stuff, like not, how have you built out your team? Who's helped you navigate these things? Who are the people you can trust? Are you praying that God will bring these people to you? Like, what does that look like for the culture you're building? Just the
Mm.
intimacy in your circle. Like, what does that look like?
Bro, I love your questions, man.
Oh,
And
thanks.
thank you for just being so diligent with your platform. This is awesome.
Oh, thanks.
This is so important, dude. This is so important for artists, and anybody. Like who you're around, the some of the five people you're around is really it's who you become. And yeah, this was a journey too, man. I had a window where I had a whole entourage. I had like 10, 12 people around me, different artists, producers, just a bunch of people all the time, and we roll in deep. And a lot of those people didn't have my best interest in mind, and I would find out the hard way. Whether it would be with opportunity or talking people talking crazy or people trying to siphon something for themselves or even, straight up just resources and like it's crazy how it draws. You see all the time like athletes who are these good guys who just want to make it and then they just have the wrong people around them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or there's like a ton of 30 for 30s about that. Like
Sure, yeah.
so I think for me I got in that window we were talking about where like I was kind of releasing the albums after COVID in like 2021 to 2023 with Hard Work Out First and all those. God really started showing me this is an interesting subject because I don't know if you know who like Alex Hormozy is or like
Yeah. Marketing
but
genius.
like yeah dude he's awesome. I want to meet him someday. He's helped me so much in business and in social media just in life. But one of the things that he's talked about is a little bit more brutally designing your circle. Like where you want to go, you have to design that. I wasn't listening to his stuff at the time. I'm listening to it now, and he kind of blueprints things that happened to me. My pastor is Pastor Jeremy Allstill over at Cornerstone Nashville, and he's an amazing man of God. He's the real deal. But he's also preached about that, like just being intentional about that circle. So to answer your question, God gave me this word. Um, and it's kind of abstract, but it's like I was reading the Bible one morning and I noticed something and it kind of struck a chord with me. When Jesus was born, the angels went to the shepherds, right? The least of these, the people who, were just out there in the world doing their job. Um, they didn't have anything to bring. The angel went to them and was like, Christ is born. But the kings came to Jesus and they brought gifts. I felt like the Holy Spirit was encouraging me as I was reading that. Like, you go to the least of these. There are people who need you, who need your message and need your calling. You go to them. But your inner circle has to be people, the kings are people who come to you and bring gifts.
Yeah.
And I think I had been so desperate for acceptance in that group because I had been an outsider at times and I had been, alone in a lot of difficult parts of the journey. That I was searching for people or a lot of very broken people, and I'm super broken too. I've been healed. God has set me free. But I think you can't become better if everybody around you is crabs in a barrel. You're all pulling each other down, whether you mean to or not. And I think I was like, oh, this person needs my help or this person needs my help. And I was enabling these relationships where it was making me a worse person because no matter how great you are, your company matters.
Right.
And if you go on the road and you're traveling and you're doing ministry and you don't have the right circle, you're gonna you're gonna be a fourth of who you could be. And so I think God called me to do the Alex Hormozy thing where you start to sculpt your circle. And life did that to me too, man. A lot of people left, a lot of people quit, a lot of people switched up. And I think so the circle that I'm having now, are people who are tried and true by the flame, dude. Like my parents, obviously, like I said, they're my heroes and they've sacrificed so much for me to do this. They're with me, you know. Dad still comes out on that tour, and we dropped a song last night, which we can talk about later. But like, we're up here in the office up till midnight. Like, okay, is the YouTube video ready? Did we change all the links and bios? Like, him and I were selling our first merch drop at our grandparents' house. Like back in the day, we're at the
Yeah.
computer with our desktops. We didn't have laptops yet, and we were just like, okay, is the merch live? Like, so they're amazing. And obviously now my fiance has become a part of that inner circle and she makes me a better man. And then I got a couple brothers like my boy Goose is all the videos and stuff that you see. Yes, he's the best man at my wedding.
Oh, nice.
And he's amazing, dude. All the videos that you see, him and I co-produced Hard Workout First. Like we've been together on this journey for a lot and he's just stuck it out through a lot of the ups and downs. My boy Drew's my road manager. My friend Josie Park, shout out. I just went out and did his conference out in the Dallas area. Um, he's an entrepreneur and he's a beast. And I met him about a year ago. And he's one of the guys who, in that circle of, the five people, has pushed me to realize the potential that I have as a warrior. He's been like, hey Z, this is the life I'm living now. And I started similar where you're at. He's pushed me to have that courage. So I have like you can count on one hand the people, and there's more, but the people that really push you, my boy Micah from Florida, him and I talk every week, and we're like pushing to be men of God and like what do the youth need to see us doing? How is our witness going to inspire the next gen? So it's just like having that structure. But I realized there was a long season of being lonely where I had to wait and until like you don't fill those slots with people who don't have your best interest in mind or people who are going to bring you down. Um, you even family members, friends. There's a lot of people who are like, well, everybody I'm around at my school or in my family, they're toxic or there's a season where you got to be alone. You got to thug it out. Even with my family, there's stuff that they couldn't do for me that I had to, like my faith, like you got to make your own choices. So I think right now I'm at that place where I've been without the circle and I waited it out and I just became the person I feel called to be. And then it draws the right type of people. But you have to be very intentional that you're not mixing up the shepherds and the kings and that you're being a king to the people in your circle. You're bringing value as well. Um, but I had a mentor tell me like, this is how we run it. Like I always travel with at least one guy. Like I always travel most of the time two. It's usually me, Goose, and Drew. But I never travel alone. I have multiple people logged in on my social media,
Yep.
including my dad. Like because I'm locked in. I'm hungry for this and I want to do the right thing. But this also gives me that protection to keep me strong, keep me focused, and make sure that too nobody can lie about what we're doing because we are working very hard to maintain integrity, to stay on the right track, to grow something. So I think in your regular life, if you've got those people, hold them close and push each other to be better. And if you don't, be who you're called to be and wait for God to bring them to you instead of forcing it and trying to fill that slot with people who will hold you back.
No, man, that's excellent stuff because it's like, yeah, I mean, I think that like, man, without accountability, the right kind of accountability, I just think we're dangerous, man. We're just we're kind of a loaded pistol, without accountability. And so the fact that I mean, and even now, I don't know if people knew that about you that, your socials are open. There are people that can check that, run that,
Oh
you
yeah.
because man, in a lot of ways, and I don't know if you feel this way, but like in a lot of ways, man, for social media, the way that it's become, man, for a man that's following after God, like there's not a lot of good out there for you. Like
Mm,
it can really kind of jam you up, And so it's like the fact that you're transparent, you try to surround yourself with people that are gonna, hold you accountable to that
yeah.
transparency, I think is huge. But speaking of like a different transparency, let me ask you this because I didn't have this one on my list of things I wanted to talk about. But so you're engaged, Camille,
Yeah.
right? Is that
Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. And so with Camille, man, like how that's a different kind of transparency, man. That's not a
Yeah.
transparency that you show your boys or even your parents. I mean, that's
Mhm.
like, this is a whole different side of you that is vulnerable and just kind of, almost, I mean, pardon the phrase, but just kind of naked before that person in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of you're opening up your life to them, so to speak, you
Yeah.
know? And so I guess my curiosity is like in those conversations with Camille, you gotta, and she knows it's like, hey, I don't sell insurance. Like I don't have an 8 to 5 where I punch in, punch out.
Yeah.
My life can be chaotic. How is she as far as like a member of your tribe now?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? And like you talked about surrender earlier. Do you see yourself now like, man, I've got a whole nother level of surrender I've got to hit?
yeah. Dude, you're like batting 1,000 right now. These are awesome. Yeah, I think it's in my Instagram bio, you'll see a phrase, tame the chaos. I
Okay.
love that you said life can be chaotic.
It can, yeah.
Um, tame the chaos. Chaos is really defined in Genesis as the void of God's presence. Like there was chaos over the waters. Like chaos is without God's order, without his wisdom. And I feel like both of us have learned as we've started this relationship that yeah, it's a little different than if we just both went to the office and then we got home. That is a very that comes with a whole different set of challenges, right? But with us, I've had, the privilege of pastors and people I look up to tell me like it's Jesus, it's family, and then it's your calling. Um, and you have to be very intentional that you're communicating and you're setting it up where the hunger that you have to succeed and to do something for your family doesn't overtake those moments with your family because we all know there are people who are multimillionaires and their kids hate them. You know what I mean? There are people who get divorced but they have everything physically that they could ever want. And the reality is that it takes work to be that vulnerable. We've had nights where we're sitting there talking and crying and holding each other and just telling each other, the truth of how we feel about certain situations. And it's been a journey for me. I physically felt, and we've talked about this, I physically felt like growing past a point that I had never grown past. Like in this relationship leading up to marriage, I would literally be up at night feeling like, man, this is the furthest I've ever gone.
Yeah.
I've never, like she could crush me if she wanted to. She could break my heart. Like I'm fully invested. I am fully in love. I am fully transparent. And I think I'd had a lot of walls because of the ups and downs, because of the heartbreak of people leaving or people switching up, because of trust issues. And I feel like she's helped me heal that. And the Holy Spirit has been huge on that in our relationship. It's just like we'll let each other see who we are. Um, and I think that I remember we were at the first show that she ever came to. Um, we got her a hotel room and she came out to a show that we did in Melbourne, Florida. And it was like this kind of outreach, right? Like I ended up baptizing a guy. Like it was like a festival where it's like, hey, the music and the games and all the stuff that's going on will draw you in, and then we're gonna bring you Jesus. And I remember we're just sitting in her hotel room, like I just came in there to check on her. We just got food or something. And she was just like, wow. Like she was like she got hit by a truck, like just stunned at like the weight of what we do
Mm.
and how much she saw some of those Johnny type interactions.
Yeah.
People who are like this music or this message, and it really hit her like the gravity of it. And then I feel like since that day, she's been all in to do everything she can to help this reach people who need it. And we've talked about what that looks like together and how she's getting involved on the team, and she's been nothing but an asset. So I'm so proud of her and I'm grateful that she bought in. She's aware of what this calling entails and she's all in for it. Um I think it's a daily commitment to always make sure that we're just saying what we mean, meaning what we say. I've got to have the discipline like you're saying to just be fully transparent and be real. And because she's given me that space, because even other relationships, there's an element where people will rely on you or work with you, or that I feel like this has created another inner circle in all the ripples. It's like here, other than me and Jesus, here's a place where I'm literally just able to be. And I'm grateful for that. And it's work and there's ups and downs. Um, but I feel like she's fully bought in and committed to like this lifestyle and what it looks like. And we both have agreed, like, let's just push and grow this to where God has called it to be. So that when we begin to raise our family, we've built the structure, we've tamed the chaos, and we understand, hey, when I get back from this session and it's this time now, work is quiet. Like, the social media thing, like I'm not so in that world that I don't have time to be in the real world. Like,
Yeah,
so it's a process, man, but I feel like we're learning it, and I feel like we've done what most couples don't in this space, which is have the conversation. Because we had the privilege of people who were in music or ministry warn us and say, look, a lot of times you go into it, you're really excited, and you never have these talks. Do it now. And they were kind enough to show us the things that could be a point of issue later on. And so we've been like really getting ahead of it, and I'm grateful for that. I don't
yeah.
know if that answers your question. Is that kind
No,
of
no,
like,
I think so. No, I think so. It's like, man, it's a beautiful thing, and we again we hear Jesus, say that the two will become, one,
yeah,
and it really is a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful gift that we're offered in that respect.
yeah.
Because again, like man, it's funny. I think that there's a Tim Keller quote that he says that marriage doesn't so much bring you into combat or conflict with your spouse as much as it brings you into conflict with yourself.
Yeah, oh, dude, it showed me so much. Like I thought I was way further along than I really am. I thought I was like killing it. I was like, oh, wait, there's a couple things. Oh,
Oh,
dang.
totally, totally, man. Listen, it's so funny, man. Like my wife and I, we've been married now 12 years, and
Oh,
or I take
congrats, man. That's awesome.
yeah, I take that back. Is that 12 years? Oh my gosh, yeah, I guess.
Oh.
So anyway, all that to say, like she's gonna hear this and be like, "You can't math," but now all that to say, like, it's funny because like before we were married, man, like I mean I felt like I was genuinely myself, and then we get married and I got tears flowing that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
And it's just like what is happening, like I had it together until I met you and now I'm a mess. But it's a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful kind of a beautiful mess, but yeah, man, so like I've heard you say too, I've heard you talk a little bit here and there about you know um even really like biblical manhood, right? And like
Mm,
and what does it mean to be like we talk about man of God. I think that for some people means different things, but as someone that's moving into a season now where it's just like, hey, I'm a leader, and there's even a chance one day I may be a father. There's a chance that, all this kind of stuff. Like, what did like, because and we mentioned kind of your dad, Chris, earlier. Like, and again, I in my brief interaction with him, just seems like a very great dude.
he's
But
awesome.
what did your dad instill, in you, and what does he instill in you even today? Like, if you were going to
Mm,
today, like, what is he pouring into you where you're just like, that's the kind of thing I want to, model. Like that's what I want to be.
selflessness. I think I've never seen him put himself before us. And I realize now the more that I experience it, how difficult that is. He made it look easy, but it was always like he's thinking about us. His decisions are motivated by his family. And I feel like he did an incredible job of, you had mentioned this earlier, like there are things that you have as an inheritance. I think my inheritance was the love of our family, the closeness of our family. Like he got it out of the dirt to create a Christ culture in the home. Him and my mom building what it looks like to love each other and love Jesus and to have a healthy, like supporting each other. They found the things that they didn't have growing up, and they always would say, "We want our ceiling to be your floor."
Yeah.
That's what Dad
Ooh.
would say that all the time. I want my ceiling to be your floor. And I feel like he's like sprinted through and handed me the baton.
Yeah.
So I have this healthy, everybody's got their stuff, but I have this healthy view of a committed marriage, of selflessness and sacrifice, of what it means to be a man. That for me, it's such a funny balance because I do think that as men we should be vulnerable, we should open up, we should be real. But it's not one or the other. It's also there's a bit of like lock in.
Yeah.
Like you're a man, love your wife like Christ loves the church. Christ literally died on a cross
Yeah.
for us. So there is a selflessness where little things, dude, we joke about it, but like we're gonna watch a movie and we sit down and I'm comfortable and we're ready to start the movie. And she's like, "Oh, actually, could you go grab my water bottle or could you get like that's a little funny thing."
Yeah.
But in my brain, every time that's a little one where it's like, "Oh, I just got comfortable." But you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, baby, I got you. I'll go get it. Right. And that's a funny light example of like there's you get a choice. Do you want to serve with love? Do you want to be selfless with joy? Or do you want to like build resentment and grumble every time you gotta, grow past the old you, get out of your flesh, right? I think, you know, I saw him no matter what, like he was always like, if he made a mistake, he would apologize. If he, if mom needed something, he would show up. Um, I feel like I always saw both of my parents display this desire to just, hey, our number one priority is just we love you.
Yeah.
And that I know that's not always the case. I know not everybody has that. So I realize what a treasure it is. So I don't have to get that part out the mud. Now for me, I'm like, okay, cool. You guys did that, right? You built that. That was part of the legacy. Now I'm going to build this empire. Now God is going to help me take this foundation that you created, and I'm going to be able to build something that reaches the world. And I tell people that everybody's got to be the one in their family to some capacity. That's why me and Josie relate a lot because he and I talk about being the one, like, okay, you got to go build something. But each of us are the one in a different way. Maybe you're the one who built that healthy marriage example for your kids, or maybe you're the one who, maybe you had the finances and you had to build the family aspect. Everybody has like a different thing that they build the one in their family tree. Um, so I think what I inherited was that selflessness for the family, and it's even mom. I seen him cry about this, man, because mom would say like you're the most like Jesus out of anybody I've
Woo,
ever met,
man,
and it's like man, like
good
I
compliment.
pray that my wife says that about me,
Man.
um, and it's a journey though, and I try to apply that same stuff as I lead. When
Yeah,
I'm with the team, like I'm last. Jesus is first, and then I want to put other people before me. Love others as you love yourself.
totally. Tell it, man. Yeah, that's beautiful. What a beautiful thing. And so, man, real quick. So we'll kind of button up. I wanted to talk about what you got. What lies ahead. What's in
Yeah.
front of you. And I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. I know that you've probably got some touring planned here.
Oh
Later.
yeah.
But man, I mean, what can you tell us? What can you tell us about the new music? Any
Yeah,
tours you
dude.
got up? Anything like that?
Waiting for the Sun literally just dropped at midnight last night. So that's I've been putting out a lot of music this year. I was like, look, like I'm just keeping the people fed. I have some stuff that's like really, in my opinion, like some heavy hitters that are on the way. And I've just been all this music that's in the vault. I'm just trying to keep telling the story, keep feeding people. Really giving music to live life to. Touring wise, we're looking at stuff near the end of the year. I got festivals and we're probably going to put together some headline dates. We're not 100% sure on it yet. But we'll be announcing that relatively soon. So people can start getting ready for it. Next year for sure, we're gonna go on tour because it's album mode. So we're gonna get that album out and start taking it to the people. Um, right now, I would say like the thing that's fired me. You're catching me at a really cool point because I feel like this is like the deep breath on the diving board right before we jump.
Yeah.
And the thing that's been firing me up and been on my mind recently is building this movement, right? God has called me to create a place for people to belong. And I feel like in this season of getting, okay, who is Zauntee and Zachariah and how are we connected to Jesus right now? He's showing me the most authentic version of what I can take in interactions like you and I are having. How do I translate that to our social media platforms where people are consuming, and then there's like a little bit of light that hits them in their day, something that pulls them in, motivates them, inspires them, pushes them to be better. So I think what I'm most excited about, my call to action for anybody listening, if you agree with what's being said here, if it resonates with you, or you sense that fire and you feel called to do something great, whether it's for God, whether it's for your family, I believe Jesus is the answer, but I also believe your stories and your gifts matter. So you can't live all the hell that you've gone through for no reason. You got to make it count. You got to use it to inspire other people. It's your training to be a specialist to go reach people,
Yeah.
right? So my call to action is like become a part of this movement. Start checking in. Following us on social media is one thing, but being engaged with what we're about to do, because there's a launch coming where we're going to create an even more interactive way for our community to become part of this movement so that you can be empowered to take everything that you're called to do and hit your schools, hit your work, hit your family, hit your friends. I just have a deep desire now that I'm free and I'm in this place of like, I just want to empower, I want to serve. Um, Listen to the music if it's the right song for you. Find the songs to live life to.
Yeah.
But more than anything else, just start becoming engaged in this community so that when we launch this next phase, you're a part of it. These are the people who believe before the numbers. We're like, oh, okay, I see something's moving. I resonate with it. I believe it's going to work. Buy in now, get your ticket now. Be one of those first people who are a part of the movement before
Sure.
it takes off because we're going to change the world.
I love that, man. Well, man, that's in an ideal space, man, that'd be a great place to end, but I can't do it, man. I got one more
I
question.
love it. I'm here, bro. Let's go.
I just got one more. Okay.
Okay.
So, man, in the Gospel of Luke, and I thought about this. I was talking to about this with somebody the other day. In the Gospel of Luke, man, Jesus says to Simon Peter, Simon, Satan has asked to sift you.
Ooh.
He's asked to destroy you, basically. He's asked to sift you. And Jesus is basically like, I spared you that one. And man, so here's a question that I've got, and hopefully I can get there. And I can land the plane. I heard a song the other day on the radio, and it was on Christian radio. And as I listened to it, I was like, man, it almost sounds like this artist is calling out the devil, almost like come and get it, kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know, man, that I like that. And let me tell you what I mean by that is because we're up against a formidable opponent.
Yeah.
And I remember, man, there was a time, and I don't know necessarily if one has anything to do with the other, but I remember there was a time in my prayer life, I was probably prideful, brash, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, man, bring it on. Like, bring it on, man. Like, and I remember, dude, and listen, I know this is going to sound funny, but after I had that kind of like bring it on, because I think that my pride was split between a pride, like I had a deep faith in God, but I also had a deep faith in myself. And so I was almost like God was informing, but not necessarily leading. There wasn't lordship. And so I remember I kind of had this bring it on kind of prayer where I was talking to the enemy, like, dude, like, come on,
Mm,
And man, I'm not kidding, dude. A couple years later, I got really sick. Like
mm,
now I don't know if one has anything to do with the other, but that was in that season. Um, I was at my lowest point where I had nothing to offer God, truly nothing to offer him. And I was like, God, you got to come get me out of this hole, You got to get me out of and so I guess my question to you would be, as somebody that, your music's got a lot of grit, I would almost say that like I would almost consider you, man, like a heavenly militia. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, so my question to you, man, is like, do you ever like feel that temptation to like call out the devil or do you just stand on the rock and the rock alone?
mm.
Does that make any sense?
That does. I feel like I had some of those windows too earlier on. Like I feel like especially if you're getting kind of angry at the situations that are going on in life too, it can be tempting to be like, all right, like you want it, let's go. Like, um, Lord, give me wisdom on this. I feel like for me, bro, it's been I put a video up on my YouTube about this. I just kind of like usually I only do like music videos and stuff, and I just like put my phone up and I was like, all right, I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
So if you want to go, it's called Tame the Chaos. I Pastor Jeremy was preaching a sermon about Genesis, about among other things, and just like really hammering home the idea that like chaos is the absence of God's presence. And we're fighting a battle that's already been won. I have that album we already won
Yeah.
because it was based off of Joshua where the angel of the Lord said, "Hey, rest, the kingdom's already yours, the city's already yours." Like you're walking in a land that's already claimed.
Yeah.
And I feel like God asks us to rest because the land's already ours, right? So I feel like it's not our fight is not against flesh and blood. We are fighting against the enemy. And Jesus said, don't worry about those who can destroy the body, be concerned about the one who can destroy the soul. That's a formidable opponent. So I agree with what you're saying. I think for me, where I found because I do need a target. I love the heavenly militia thing, dude.
You're like, I'm gonna
That,
get that.
bro, I'm saying
Yeah.
like I want to rally an army.
Yeah.
There's so many people who have nowhere to belong. I want them to know, like, this is look, we rise at dawn. Let's go. But I think I was looking for a target for a long time. I literally have in my like I just put them in a box. I have probably about 8, 10 notebooks of just ideas and brainstorming and stuff. Like, hey, when we make it, we can put them in a museum. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like I feel like one of these pages in there, still remember because I was like sitting at a Barnes and Noble, and I remember like who's our enemy? Like, are we fighting against the music industry? Is it against you know? sin and evil? Is it against the religious people who distort Christianity? Is it straight up against the devil? Like what is this? What's the cause that we rally to? And the truth is the cause should be for Jesus, not against anything else.
Yeah, it's good.
Because if you're for Jesus, he will show you what needs to be conquered.
Yeah,
And that's the chaos.
yeah,
You walk into your work environment, there's darkness. There's chaos. You walk through the hallways of your high school, there's chaos. And you having integrity and being righteous is taming the chaos every day. When you say no to doing the wrong thing, when you say Jesus loves you to somebody who's depressed or who's somebody who's going through it, you give money when you don't have the money to give. And you help somebody get their gas or you like when you do these things, when you go to the gym and you're disciplined with your body, when you tithe or when you make a budget instead of just taking the resources God gives you and doing what I did for years, which is just survival mode,
yeah,
right? When you make sacrifices to create the person that God has called you to be, and everything you have is submitted at the foot of the cross and for Jesus, the enemy becomes the chaos.
yeah,
We go to fight the chaos, brother. We wake up and live on purpose to go tame the chaos. And I think that's become something that's given me a purpose, an enemy to fight. I'm not calling out the devil and saying I want direct warfare with him. I'm not looking for problems that aren't there. I'm not making skirmishes when Jesus already won the war. I'm looking in the environments God has handed me to steward, like the Garden of Eden that we messed up. He gives us stuff to steward, like King David and his kingdom. Like the church and the apostles. Like, what has he given me to steward? And where are the points of chaos in that?
yeah.
And then it's Holy Spirit, move me out of the way. How do I handle this? And I'm in his word and I'm in prayer. How do I approach this?
Right.
So I feel like if I had to summarize who our enemy is, go tame the chaos, man. The devil's part of that chaos,
Yep.
but Jesus did the hard work for us. And above all else, follow Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, and dude, that puts a pretty good bow. Because I mean, you mentioned your friend, Johnny, or Johnny had come up to you at a show, and I think that we all have people certainly like that in our, it could be our next door neighbor I mean, it could be anyone,
100%.
and the fact that you've got an honest, mission, and we all have it. For those of us that are in Christ Jesus, man, we've all got that mission. And it sounds like you take yours, very seriously. It's everything about you,
Mm,
so man, I wanted to just, again, before we hop off, just thank you for being, just honest and vulnerable with me, and just because, the funny thing is like, and again, this may or may not make sense, but when my wife and I got married, my brother was probably like, he raised a hand because it's like he wanted to do the ceremony. He's a pastor, and I knew that, like, I didn't want him to do it, and it
mm.
wasn't because I didn't love my brother, it was because I wanted to separate pastor from Michael. Like, I wanted him to just be my brother.
Yeah.
I'll be Pastor Michael. And like, so like today, like just in talking to you, I was like, man, I really want to know who Zachariah, like I want to know
Mm.
the different kind of depths to the hot fudge sundae kind of thing, like
Yeah.
I wanted to see all of it, man. And I appreciate you being honest and showing me and anybody who may listen to it. And man, listen, we're rooting for you, man. We're pulling for you. As you hit the road, we're gonna, we'll tell you what, we'll post your tour dates on socials and all that kind of
Thank you,
stuff
man.
as well, and get the word out. And dude, much love to you, man. Thank you for being authentic and genuine. And man, we'll catch you as you hit the road next time.
Thank you so much for your time, brother. Thank you for creating an incredible platform. You're awesome, and
Thanks,
you blessed me today. So I look forward to doing this again, man.
thanks, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
God bless.
Bye, man.